In 1812, a group of Canadian men set fire to the White House. But why? Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we are off to North America to look at one of the most audacious attacks in the history of the United States. In 1812, the White House was burned down by a group of Canadians. But why? And who are these men anyway? Well, the story starts in the Michigan Territory, an area of land that at this time was still a part of the Northwestern Territory, but was claimed by both Britain and the United States. The British were actually the first European country to lay claim to this region, doing so in 1796 when they sent troops to establish a fort near present-day Detroit. However, the United States also laid claim through the same area after the American Revolutionary War. This led to decades of tension between the two countries as settlers from both sides poured into the region. Matters were not helped by the fact that there was a simmering conflict between the United States and the British over maritime rights in the Pacific Northwest. When American ships began to seize British ships that were trading with the Pacific Northwest, Britain went to war against the United States in 1812. Unfortunately for the British, the North American colonies were not all that keen on fighting a war against their own kith and kin. As such, the majority of British military action during the War of 1812 took place outside of North America. However, a small number of British soldiers did remain behind in Canada, where they were joined by thousands of Canadian volunteers, such as the men of the Canadian First Nations, who were led by a man called Tecumseh. What followed was a brutal 3-year conflict during which the British and their Native American allies inflicted a number of defeats on the Americans. By 1814, it was clear to everyone that the war was going badly for the Americans. And so, President James Madison decided to do something to boost morale by launching a major attack on the British capital of York, which is now Toronto. On April 27th, 1813, American troops crossed the Niagara River and began their assault on the city. After a fierce battle, the Americans managed to capture York, plundering the city before setting it on fire as they left. The burning of York outraged Canadians, who had suffered greatly during the war, and many called for revenge. One of these men was a blacksmith called Robert McDougal, who convinced his friend, former naval commander Isaac Brooke, to help him plan an attack on Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States. Their plan involved gathering a small group of men and traveling south to the United States, where they would then proceed to kidnap President Madison and take him to Canada as a hostage. However, upon arriving in Washington, D.C., they found that the president had gone to a vacation home. Undeterred, McDougal and his men then set about ransacking the city, burning buildings and destroying property as they went. They then made their way to the White House, where they spent some time looking for the president before finally setting fire to the building. As dawn broke, the citizens of Washington awoke to find their city under the control of the Canadians. Although the Canadians were eventually driven out, they had achieved that goal of destroying the city, as was burning down the White House. They had also destroyed or looted most of the public buildings and private homes in the capital. Although the War of 1812 ended in 1815 with the signing of the Treaty of Ghent, relations between the United States and Canada remained tense for many years afterwards. However, the burning of the White House by Canadians became a source of great pride for Canadians, who saw it as a symbol of their patriotism and courage. Even today, the incident is commemorated with a plaque in Ottawa, Canada. So, there you have it. The reason why Canada burned the White House. I hope you enjoyed this episode with a special thanks to my